centering and magnetism and all that. I don't think in science anymore. I used to think in science, and then I changed my thinking starting in the 1970s.
You know, one thing that comes to mind when just backtracking and talking a little bit more about Buckminster Fuller, that he built these geodesic domes and houses. Do you think that it actually is more healthy to live in a house that have this kind of geometry, meaning that you don't, how should I put it, interfere with the natural energies of the earth even? And if you take a shape like a geodesic dome or something like that, it aligns itself more in a better way with the energies of the earth. So meaning that you actually are in a better position for not contracting disease and things like this. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is much more healthy being in a round structure. And if you notice, almost all of the traditional native structures in the history of the world were round, and then a teepee, and triangulated. And see, Western civilization is based on squares, and it's not healthy. And cities are not healthy places. The power grids, the static, the pollution. Have you been in a dome or a yurt or a teepee before?
Actually, I don't think so. Actually, only kind of dome I guess I have been into some of those big cathedrals that have the dome, but then they have the squares around that, you know. But yeah.
Oh my God! Well, Da Vinci was the kind of the guy that got that going. I mean, I don't think he originated, but he was a great architect, and he used and some would say that Buckminster Fuller was the reincarnation of Leonardo da Vinci. Mm-hmm. They used the same geometry, and their drawings actually look alike. And it is much more healthy being inside these round buildings, round structures. Mm-hmm. It's much more pleasant. In the 40s, when Fuller finally designed his geodesic dome as a shelter, and people didn't like him because they were used to squares. And what's this round thing? It doesn't feel right. You know, it's inside this. And so you have to change your consciousness to really like circles better than squares.
Do you have any domes up or where you're at? Any buildings?
Well, not right now. I live in a tree house, so I don't really have a dome. But I've had domes before. I built domes. I make dome toys. There's a dome business here in Oregon, building kits. You know, they sell these dome kits that you can build yourself. A kit meaning it's easy to put it up, and sometimes big ones. They make different sizes. There's a dome company that a friend started in the 70s, and around 1980, started a dome company building geodesic domes, and I bought one of their domes. But anyway, Fuller designed the domes in the 40s after World War II to do the housing industry. And they knew the housing industry was coming. They had planned to do that after World War II. I mean, the industry thinks in a minimum of 5 to 10 year plans, more like 20 to 50 year plans. That's why the oil industry thinks in 50-year plans. Mm-hmm. That's why they want to go out and they're having war to get oil. They want to have oil for 50 years. I mean, just 5 and 10 years is nothing to those people. So anyway, Fuller developed his dome and was going into building a factory to mass produce them. They couldn't get the whole system together because the builders and the architects, they have to change everything in the industry, in the entire building industry to build this. They couldn't do it. So they gave up. They set up a factory and it wouldn't work because the consciousness of the people to live in, to buy and live in. I mean, they were able to sell cars very big, after World War II. Very, very much. The cars just exploded. But to sell round homes, round structures, round buildings, it just was too much of a change of people's minds. People can only change a little bit in their mind because their mind is all in squares. People think in squares. They think in lines and monies and flat planes, and it's called plane and solid geometry.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you. It's being on. It's a square mindset. Definitely, that's right. One thing that you also go into and talk about is, and I'm not sure if we talked about this at all last time you were here. Then of course we talked more about the aspects of global warming and the climate change and all this and why that is happening, connecting that later of course with permaculture and talked about that. But I don't think we talked anything about the space weather aspect, and this is another fascinating area that I guess you're researching and looking at. The things that are happening now on our planet, with the warming and with the obvious changes that are taking place in the climate. Do you connect this with stuff that actually is going on out there, more cosmic in nature?
Well, there's three main causes of the weather. The sun, and that's huge. I mean, that's bigger than we can imagine. We get all these neat pictures from SOHO and the satellite people and all that. So that's one of the great changes in the weather is the increased sun energy that's coming in for the last 50 years. We had a little ice age in it went to 1300 to 1850, and that was stressing Europe, and that was one of the reasons in Europe why the empire, they were going to go overseas, make big ships. The biggest technology in the last 500 years was ships before electricity came along, and then trains. But the biggest technology in that whole era, which was pre-industrial era, was the ships. And they could take a couple years, 5 years, to build a giant ship. And they took down the forests in Europe to build ships and cathedrals. So just to see the whole system of how the weather changes, and now it's heating up, where we had the ice age in the little ice age there, and then we also have volcanoes that affect the weather. So the weather is very multiple causes and effects. And we in the city people don't think in causes and effects. We think in squares and lines and money and markets and machines. And we don't think in multiple causes and effects. And permaculture is based on multiple causes and effects. And you live in a bioregion, you've got all the elements, air, fire, earth, and water, the weather, how you collect water. You're living in multiple cycles. Mm. And so we look at what is the causes of the weather. Well, the sun is the biggest one. But then we have the earth itself, like the terrain that you live in, the forests. The forests cause rain. They attract rain and they make rain. Well, if they clear the forest, which they're doing, and I don't know how your forests are in Sweden. We had some of the biggest, best forests here in the northwestern United States, and then they clear cut them, and they're still doing that. Mm. And why? Because people are using a lot of wood to build with, and packaging, and paper. So you see, the whole system is, if you clear the forest, then it causes a drying out of your bioregion. Mm. And in permaculture, we want the forests. We really need them. They're wonderful. And the wilderness, the wildlife, the collecting water. Forests collect water in the ground and in their growth, the green. So we need to do that. So we're thinking, well, like a weather. Maybe they have lasers in the satellites and they're steering hurricanes. I mean, this is some of the weather manipulation that we've been hearing about.
Yeah.
But Wilhelm Reich, who was a discoverer of cosmic energy and sex energy and healing and massage, and I mean he started a lot of things that were in the 40s and 30s and 40s and 50s that were very liberating. And this is saying, well, do you want to be free? Well, if you just want to be free to go shopping, it's different. But if you want to be free with nature, then it's more healthy. And I'm getting younger again. Every couple of years, I start getting younger again. I go on new diets and new changes. So if you want to be more self-reliant and simple and organic, then you get more natural and you go outside to get healthy. Because the cities are the opposite. Cities want to control environments. Environmental controls. I mean, that's kind of the law of the city. It is, and it's imported. We have to ship it in. And nature imports everything to us if we were just be receptive and sensitive to it. So we become more sensitive. That's why yoga and aerobics and massage and Chinese, Qigong and acupuncture and herbology and all these things they're growing trends. And they're growing, now we hear that they're growing as fast as the medical industry. Well, that's kind of fast because the medical industry, we got these giant hospitals, and why? Because people are sick. Well, what do you really need? Do you need to be healthy? No, I need money. Well, health is free if you know how to do it.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely, and that's something I want to get into a little bit later and talk more about. Natural detox and all this, how we can stay healthy, and even with the natural means and what is good for us and what is less good for us. Going back again, I just today I watched a documentary about the sugar wars that was occurring way back a couple of 100 years ago, and just it was quite enlightening to looking at this documentary, considering the fact that sugar in itself is such a bad thing for your health, but even the fact that all the industry around it and all the slavery connected with it, it's kind of almost like a reflection of just how how bad it is overall. I mean, it's just incredible. I'm not sure if you've studied that at all, but again, it's a reflection of all the that kind of the industry that we're setting up around these things that actually in the end are very bad for all humans in the end.
Well, sugar wars. Now, I haven't heard that term. There was this is the first drug addicting industry in the world with sugar in the modern era. And it started with the slavery in about 400 years ago when they started slavery. And there's a book called The Sugar Blues, and it's probably the most open secret. That is, people are addicted to sugar, and they know it. They got to get their fix every day. I think it was sugar and toilet paper and bread were the three things, and milk, that sold out in stores when there's a crash, when there's shortages. If you go, the stores sell out, and those are the things people are addicted to: bread, meat, milk, sugar, and toilet paper. Those are the things. So, as far as a sugar addiction, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's in every country in the world that does baking, and now I'm city cultures. Even in India, where I was, they have pastry in the stores, junk pastry. I would call it junk, just flour and sugar and water, and a little bit of milk. But we have giant candy industries here, gigantic, and even gum, and
yeah, of course.
So and sugar is part of alcohol.
That's right.
And it's added to almost every food, and so with flour. Now the soy, the soy flour, and all these things are they're so processed that they're toxic for your body. They're toxic because they have lost their natural vitality. That's one thing, and second is they're high acids. So this is chemistry, which nature is also chemistry, but vibrations and radiation and magnetism. So if you want to be healthy, then you would notice how much acids you eat, which in chemistry is called pH. In other words, acid and alkaline is pH chemistry. It's a way of measuring chemistry and what the concentration is. So acid is one extreme and alkaline is the other. The most common acid on Earth is acid soil, and the soil needs to be a little bit of acid to grow food, and just slightly acid.